A good mix master makes a track so much better, right? But of course, we can't polish a turd. The production itself has to be unique, right? So we need all these bits and pieces together to get like an overall good production. And then the next problem is, do we have the speed and do we have the volume? So you could be making really good music, but if you're taking months and months to finish a full song and be done with it, you're competing with people who are putting out songs left and right like that, like every day. And people have the attention span of a goldfish now, so people's consumption levels is really fast. So you imagine they're scrolling on their phones and they see your track, they might listen to the drop for 5 seconds and then go to the next song. And so you spent months at a time trying to get these songs the best they can be. You release it, it falls on deaf ears, nobody hears it, gets like 5 plays on SoundCloud, and no label wants it. You don't even get any email opens. And so that rejection can hurt a lot of people and discourage them because they spent so long trying to get these songs the best they could be and they thought they were the best they could be. And so we need the volume because what's a rejection if it only took you a few hours to make something? You can just make more tracks. So if somebody has that much leverage in the sense that they can just keep making more tracks with ease, they are unstoppable because they can just keep making more songs. And you don't miss out on opportunities as well because you can just keep making more tracks. Like if you're waiting on a label to say yes or no, sure, whatever. I'm sending another EP or two to some other places at the same time and see what they say. So that is what your competition is doing. So you need to be at that level if you want to break through. Like because what's currently happening is like you're competing with people who are all doing the exact same thing. They're all just trying to get heard to labels. They're all like here, all trying to send music, send music, send music. And that's great and all, but if everybody's doing the exact same thing, that's what's part of the problem. That's the oversaturation. And so everyone here is trying to get to labels, right? And the issue with the old approach is that it's already been done a million times. And labels only have the capacity to release like 40 songs per year plus, like, including compilations maybe. So even if you did get stuff signed to a label and they wanted it, it doesn't mean it's even going to come out this year or the next. Like some of the more high tier labels have a waiting list of like 2 years because they already have artists exclusively signed there. So it's like they're not looking for more artists at this moment anyway. So that's how much oversaturation has happened. But what this does give us is it gives us a reason to be independent about our approach and to take things into our own hands. And so I'll give you guys some rundowns on how I approach growing brands, but just overall the reason why we approach things in this different way. So this is a new approach, and it's what I did for my own career, and it's how I landed success and got to the labels I wanted to get signed to, landed my dream management, booking agencies in Europe, Australia, how I did all of that just through being strategic and emailing. Like, I didn't have to go anywhere. I didn't have to, like, I'm the biggest introvert, but I've always been very strategic about the things I do and understanding how one thing can be used as leverage to get another thing. And that's what the essence of Industry Set is based on. But let's break it down first. So let's say you've got these things down, right? So you've got good sound design, you've got good mix master, and the marketing is kind of decent now, right? So we've done that stuff. Now that gives us proof of concept, because that's the first thing most people don't do, is that they don't have proof of concept. So if we want to bypass this, instead of just trying to keep sending songs to labels and not getting any opens and not getting any listens or anything like that, instead if we get proof of concept, so proof of concept. So if we get proof of concept, what that's going to do for us is we're going to be able to bypass the usual way, and so we can go around the back end approach, which is getting things like artist support, getting virality on socials, or getting collaborations with bigger artists, or landing official remixes out of nothing. So leveraging opportunities like that is going to allow us to bypass a lot of the waiting game. So instead of us trying to just hope that things are going to change for us, we can create opportunities for ourselves, and then depending on what that opportunity is, we can use that as leverage to get something better. But of course, when it comes to things like getting artist support, which is meaning sending your music to international artists and getting them actually open the email or message, actually listen and actually download it and actually play it. So if we can get through all of those things, all those steps, and we can get the volume out there of tracks that are actually high quality, we will get plays. And if we get the plays, we get proof of concept. And if we get proof of concept, not only do we validate how good we are in terms of social media, but also the same to labels, management, booking agencies. Because guess what? 9 times out of 10, all these things, labels, management, booking agencies, they're not artists, they're not music producers. So they can't quantify how good you are. Because how could they? Because they don't produce music, so how could they quantify how good a mix master or good unique sound design is? It's just based on their taste and preferences. However, there's always somebody on the roster, label, management, booking agency, that gives them that final say, like that validation, like, yeah, they are good. So oftentimes, like in the past when I've been associated with one of these brands or platforms, they've always asked me, like, hey, have you heard of this guy before? I'm thinking of signing him. Like, what do you think of this person? Just send us stuff. Same thing with labels. Like, let's say Monstercat, for example, they have 2 A&Rs that are more tastemakers. They're not really producers. They're more like the taste preference kind of people. But then they always have a producer, Going Quantum, who's like an OG Monstercat artist and who's been there from like day one. And he gives the final say in terms of whether the quality's there or not in terms of the production. Because they can't release garbage if, maybe it sounds good to one person, but on a production level, it's trash. So, and the same thing applies to pretty much any like high tier label. It's always that kind of similar setup. There's tastemakers, but then there's always somebody that gives that final say. And so if we want to build undeniable leverage, we just have to win over as many people that is associated with the platform, brand, or whatever that we're trying to move towards. So once we get very clear on our vision of where we want to go, who we want to work with, then we can get more strategic about winning all the people that are associated with it. And then depending on who does actually like our stuff and ends up supporting it, that will then connect to the next thing. So for example, I've got a client who joined Industry Set only a couple of weeks ago, and so he was already getting somewhat artist support from guys like Lucid and Ravenscoon. So they were already playing his stuff out, but he had never thought about the idea of actually just using that as leverage to pitch into a collaboration. And so I just got him to just pitch a song that he would make in Ravenscoon's way, like as if he had to put himself in Ravenscoon's shoes and make a song in the same way that he would, and then pitch it to him to make it as easy as possible for him to jump on. For those who don't make like dubstep trap, Ravenscoon's like a pretty well-known kind of bass music producer, like signing to labels like Wakan and stuff. And so my client is now doing this collaboration. And because he took that step. And so now that is opening up the doors, because our end game goal since working together is to move towards Wakan. And so he's already one step closer, because like the association there is like if he wins over and gets this collaboration going, he now has leverage to get more collaborations with other people that are under the same roster, the same label, the same management, the same booking agency, who are friends with Ravenscoon as well. Who are currently on tour with him. He can build those connections from all that stuff. And so that's what he's currently doing. And so now he's getting more collaborations, he's getting more artist support, and we're striking while the iron's hot, and we're only a few weeks in. So that's just an example of like how you can leverage build things. Another example is how I actually got my official remix, right? It was my step into the industry. I got a official remix for Flux Pavilion and Nightmare all by myself. Didn't use any contacts or any connections whatsoever. I built it all for myself. And the way I did it was I remixed their track unofficially. I grabbed the WAV file from Beatport the day it came out and did my remix in a couple of days. So I was like one of the first people to put up a remix of a bootleg. And then, because I knew when 2 artists from 2 different sides, Nightmare and Flux Pavilion, when 2 big artists from different landscapes collaborate together, it ends up being a very big hyped track, because it's like 2 separate labels, 2 different like identities, brands, and sounds. And so it would be similar to like if Rez and Subtronics do a collaboration together. It's like 2 different worlds, right? So look out for that kind of stuff. Anyways, I did this remix. I put it out. Didn't do that great, but I knew that there was more to be done. So I got like 10k plays, which is like average on SoundCloud. And I noticed on YouTube that the original track that I got uploaded on Proximity as a premiere, and that meant that the YouTube channel Proximity, which is a very big YouTube music label slash like kind of music sharing platform, because they premiered the original track, that means that they work with the original team. And so, in knowing that, I reached out to Proximity through their demo submission portal, so which is just on their website. So I didn't even have a contact email. It's just their regular submission portal, which they probably get hundreds to thousands of submissions, right? But I personalized my message in the demo submission portal, and I wasn't sending a demo. What I said was, "Hey Blake, the owner," personalizing it. "I know you don't usually upload unofficial stuff, but considering you work with the original team on Flux Pavilion Nightmares track Feel Love, I was wondering if you like my remix here, that you could ask them for permission to upload it on the channel. Curious to hear your thoughts." And I just sent him the track. And so he then listened to the track, loved it, sent it to Nightmares team, who then sent it to Flux Pavilion, who then sent it to Circus Records, and then Circus Records emailed me and they said, "Hey, we've heard your remix, we'd love to get it contracted up and signed." And the reason why that happened is because I remixed the song that they were already going to get remixes on anyway. Because like I said before, when it's two heavyweights collaborating together, or it's a big label thing like that, there's always going to be a big hype around it that they want to capitalize on, and they'll get a couple of remixes behind it. And so if you do them a service by doing the work for them, you've already made a good remix and you put it in their fucking lap, they're going to be like very thankful that they've already found a remix. They didn't have to commission it. It's like already done for them, right? And it's good. And so they signed that, got the stems, turned into an official remix, released it, yada yada. That then gave me the leverage to then send more tracks to Circus Records. I signed an EP deal there. It was actually two EPs I got to sign there in the end. And I got to do a couple of more official remixes for some artists on there. And so that whole process happened just purely off an email that I was strategic about, right? And then the thing that happened next was I used that leverage to then get my Australian booking agency, because it was way out of my league at the time, but I knew that Circus Records was very associated with this Europe agency, and I by no means had any audience in Europe, but because of the association between the record label and that booking agency, that they work together closely, I just asked the label if they could introduce me to the agency so then I could expand my network, and I got signed just purely off of that to the agency. No intention of doing any shows of there, and I didn't. But the whole point of doing that was because to build up my resume so then I could get the Australian booking agency. And so I did that, and then I had a conversation with the Australian booking agency, and I said, "Hey, look, I'm already working with this agency, got signed to Circus, got into this artist support," and because I've already made it so easy for them to want to work with me, like I've already landed all these things by myself, in their eyes, they're like, "Well, he's already done all these things by himself, imagine if I work with him." And so I then got signed to the Australian agency. They put me on tour, and I was doing co-headline shows with Pfizer, Shivers. My biggest show to date was with a co-headline with Sudden Death. And after that, I was able to land pretty much any show I wanted to that was in Australia and abroad. And so there was plenty more opportunities that happened for me that I landed by myself, and all without a manager. Even all the way to getting a manager, it was all through this same leverage building. And so I just wanted to give you guys like an overview of what's really possible in terms of once you have proof of concept and you're creative with your strategy, you can get pretty much anything you want.